Good evening, Nigeria. We have just received confirmation that our gallant Nigerian Army scored a massive victory against Boko Haram terrorists on Christmas Day, and the details will absolutely blow your mind. While families across the country were celebrating and sharing meals with loved ones, our brave soldiers were out there in the northeast, making sure these terrorists would go hungry and powerless. The troops didn't just stumble upon this operation. They strategically targeted and completely destroyed key logistics routes that Boko Haram has been using to supply themselves with food, weapons, and other materials they need to continue their evil campaign of terror against innocent Nigerians. Now, let me break down exactly what happened here, because this is huge for our national security. The Nigerian Army's operational units moved into areas around Borno State, where intelligence reports had indicated that Boko Haram was running sophisticated supply chains. These terrorists have been getting smarter over the years, trying to blend in with civilian populations and using hidden routes through the forests and rural communities to move their supplies around. But our military intelligence was one step ahead this time. The soldiers identified multiple supply points and transit routes, and on Christmas Day itself, they launched coordinated strikes that left the terrorists scrambling. We're talking about the destruction of food storage facilities, the seizure of weapons caches, and the complete disruption of movements that would have allowed these criminals to regroup and launch more attacks in the coming weeks. What makes this operation particularly significant is the timing and the strategy behind it. Christmas is usually a period when security forces might be expected to ease up a bit, allowing personnel to celebrate with their families, but the commanders made a calculated decision to use this exact moment to catch the terrorists off guard. Intelligence showed that Boko Haram was planning to use the holiday period to restock and reposition for attacks in the new year, and our troops said, "Absolutely not on our watch." The operation involved ground forces, air surveillance, and local intelligence gathering from communities who are tired of living under the shadow of these terrorists. When soldiers arrived at some of these logistics points, they found large quantities of food items, including grains, dried fish, and other provisions that were meant to sustain terrorist cells for months. All of it was either destroyed or confiscated, which means right now, those terrorists are facing serious hunger and desperation in their camps. The weapons recovered during these raids tell another important story about how much damage was prevented. Security sources report that ammunition, improvised explosive device materials, and communication equipment were seized during the Christmas Day operations. This is the kind of material that would have been used to attack soft targets like markets, churches, and villages in the coming weeks. By cutting off these supplies, the army has effectively bought precious time for communities in the northeast and forced Boko Haram into a defensive position where they have to worry about their own survival rather than planning new atrocities. The psychological impact of this cannot be overstated because these terrorists thrive on projecting strength and instilling fear. But when they can't even feed themselves or maintain their weapons, their entire structure begins to crumble from within. If you're enjoying this breakdown of how our military is taking the fight to these terrorists, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel so you never miss updates on important national security matters affecting every Nigerian. Your support helps us continue bringing you these critical stories. Local residents in affected areas of Borno State have been expressing relief and gratitude following news of the army's success. For too long, these communities have had to watch helplessly as terrorists moved through their territories, sometimes even forcing locals to provide them with supplies under threat of violence. One community leader who spoke anonymously to reporters said that the constant fear of Boko Haram retaliation had made normal life impossible. But operations like this Christmas Day strike give them hope that the end of this nightmare might actually be in sight. The Nigerian Army spokesperson confirmed that no civilian casualties occurred during the operation, which shows the level of precision and professionalism that went into planning and executing these strikes. Now, this victory is part of a broader pattern we've been seeing in recent months, where the military has been intensifying operations against terrorist logistics networks rather than just engaging in direct combat. This strategy makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because an army, Even a terrorist army cannot fight without supplies. Cut off their food, take away their weapons, destroy their communication systems, and they become significantly weakened. The Nigerian military has been learning from counter-terrorism operations around the world, and they're applying those lessons right here at home. We've seen similar logistics-focused operations succeed against ISIS in the Middle East and against other terrorist groups in Africa, so there's proven evidence that this approach works when executed properly. What should concern us going forward is making sure that this momentum continues. One successful operation is great, but sustainable security requires consistent pressure on these terrorist groups until they are completely dismantled. The communities in the Northeast need to see that the government and military are committed for the long haul, not just conducting one-off operations that grab headlines. That means continued investment in military equipment, ongoing intelligence gathering, and most importantly, winning the hearts and minds of local populations who can provide the information needed to track terrorist movements. When communities trust the security forces and believe they'll be protected from retaliation, they become the most valuable intelligence assets available. The Christmas Day operation also sends a strong message to other terrorist factions operating in Nigeria, whether it's bandits in the northwest or separatist militants in other regions. The message is simple: the Nigerian state has the capacity and the will to disrupt your operations whenever and wherever necessary. There's no safe period, no holiday break, no time when you can let your guard down, because our security forces will be there. This kind of deterrent effect is valuable beyond just the immediate tactical gains, because it forces these criminal groups to constantly look over their shoulders, wasting resources on security instead of planning attacks. As we look ahead into the rest of this year, Nigerians will be watching closely to see how the military builds on this success. Will there be more coordinated strikes against terrorist logistics? Will the communities affected by terrorism begin to see real improvements in their daily security situation? These are the questions that matter most to ordinary citizens who just want to live their lives without fear. For now, let's acknowledge and appreciate the soldiers who spent their Christmas Day fighting for our safety instead of celebrating with their families. Their sacrifice deserves recognition, and this operation proves once again that when properly equipped and strategically deployed, the Nigerian military can deliver results. Make sure you drop your thoughts in the comment section about what you think the next steps should be in defeating terrorism in Nigeria. And don't forget to share this video with others who need to stay informed about our national security situation.